I don't know why they go on and keep calling our children special needs children. Now them sabi, our children are special, gifted children, and they will fulfill their potentials in Jesus' name. Okay, I don't know how to start, where to start, but I will start anyway. But what I usually say is I would ask you to go into the chat room at some point to ask questions or to do some few things, because I believe that this is your me time. It's your time to get re-energized. It's your time to be refed. And I'll just pronounce that name that the Lord gave me for the book club. It's called Revivify. Revivify means to reawaken. Revivify means to reginger. Revivify means to, to come back to life. And I can say to you that on this journey of raising a child on the spectrum, you will need that. You will need some time where you need to be reawakened. You will need some time where you need to be regenerated. And disorder. A lot of people think it's a learning disorder. It's not a learning disorder. Sometimes some children might have some learning difficulty associated with it. It is not a learning disorder. It's a neurodevelopmental disorder. It's a big spectrum, meaning that if you put 5 women together that have got 5 different children on the spectrum, their symptoms might not really be similar, other than 1 or 2 things. As we all know, I want to believe you are very aware of the 3 kind of domain where most of the children fall, where one of them is difficulty with communication, which is the speech. There's difficulty with social interaction. There is difficulty with sometimes with behavior and their actions, and you realize that they have repetitive behavior, repetitive actions, and and those are the 3 main domains. Does it mean that there are no other signs and symptoms that you notice? There are several, and that's why it's called the spectrum. It's a big one. I'm just thinking of the best ways to start. Maybe let me start with my story. So I think for me, I got married about 21 years ago, and we had a delay in terms of fertility, getting pregnant. So it took us about 2, 3 years. It was a little long journey, I'll say. Some other people have longer. And of course, by the time we finally found out that we're expecting a baby, we're all excited. And you can imagine what that means. And of course, we went overboard. We went out of our way to make this child welcome and to make everything conducive for the child. And immediately, so it was born, and I remember during pregnancy, and that's another thing when we want to talk about causes and stuff like that. I remember during pregnancy, one of the periods I was admitted into hospital, there was a lady that was my nurse actually had chicken pox. And it was until I was discharged, I was then told that she had chicken pox. And they asked me to go do the virology and stuff like that to check my levels. I mean, as at that time, it didn't occur to me what that meant or what that didn't mean, but I was pregnant. So, and then they later came to say to us that it was fine and all that, but that they were really sorry. The lady had not, manifested the chicken pox, but it was when I was discharged, they realized that. Now, I'm saying this because years later, when we're trying to connect the dots, like what could have happened, what happened, were we exposed to something, or was this, so many different things. Sometimes I'm still thinking that might be it and that might not be it. I don't know. But, we've moved past that stage now. And so when my child was born, I remember, everything was fine. When it was about 16 months, I was pregnant again for the second one. So by the time the second baby was on our way, he was at that stage where you expect that he should be talking. So I remember I had a baba. I remember I'd had a mama, and I was excited. I was writing all those milestones down. Yeah, and I remember I had heard something like, uh, jeje. So initially we thought it was jeje meant food. That's what we thought. And so I am sure we heard those words. And then the sister came, and then everything just shut down. So initially, we were thinking it was the birth of a new child and that it was reacting to a new baby in the home because no words came after that. As at that time, it was 2.5, 3. And, I knew something was wrong. My husband was saying, no, 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 that is just reacting to the baby. All the people around us were saying, no, 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 it's just reacting to the baby. And then I realized he would be pulling my clothes when he needed something. And, I tried to make him speak and say what it was, but no way. As at that time, I was excited that I loved Mickey Mouse. I was really excited I was in love with Mickey Mouse, not knowing that that was a major, major challenge. And the only thing he would play with, if there are 20 toys in that room, the only thing he would focus on was the Mickey Mouse. And I was so excited that all I was doing was buying everything Mickey Mouse. So I'll get the Mickey Mouse bag, I'll get the Mickey Mouse bottle, I got Mickey Mouse toys. I'm telling you, I got to the point I became a shareholder on Disney, all for Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse shoes, Mickey Mouse pajamas, everything Mickey Mouse. And then I think it was some few months later, I just realized that it's only Mickey Mouse we're dealing with in this house. And if we go into any store, if you're not holding him very tight enough, he'll disappear. Yes, it was indeed a Mickey Mouse baby. We still make fun of him even till now. He'll just disappear. He will loosen his hold on your hand and he would disappear. And I think then we were in UK, so we were in Manchester, and there was this very big, massive shop, Trafford Center, and you just disappear. And then the place is just too big. You start chasing him, and before you know it, he's gone. Guess where we usually end up finding him? The Disney store. Under one, I'm telling you, under one of the aisles there, Mickey Mouse. So we'll drag him, we'll carry him, and we just thought he was just being a child. And until later, I also now realized, and I'll talk about that as I keep speaking, So, of course, the minute he started doing that, I thought, oh, maybe we're just enjoying Mickey Mouse life in this home. That's how I started the other one, Minnie Mouse for the sister, not even knowing that I was so we had Mickey Mouse, we had Minnie Mouse. And so I really thought, okay, with time, then you will kind of be playing with a bit of the Minnie Mouse and all that. No way. It was just, and I don't know if you're picking what I'm trying to say here. So it was focused on one thing and it was happy to play on his own in a corner. It wasn't interested in interacting. It was fine on his own. Even at that time, even for both of us that were medics, we thought it was just being like the dad. He said he was a quiet baby. He was a quiet boy. He just loves his own space. And we left him for some time until he was about 3.5. And then I think someone said to me, I think it's important that you allow him to go. I think it was one of the doctors that we initially saw. And the person said, I think it's important that you let him start creche now so that we can see how he interacts with other children. We had loads of cousins, nieces, and nephews. So, they come to the house. So I really thought it was in the midst of a lot of children playing. But it was later when we started to talk to them, they started to share with us that no, he loves his corner. He stays in his corner with the Mickey Mouse, and it was fine there. So we started from the first creche. I remember paying for the creche, and I think it was 3 or 4 weeks later. The lady in charge called me, and because then I had resumed work, called me and was like, she's really sorry. She thinks there's a problem. And I was like, what problem? And she was like, I'm not sure. He doesn't listen. He's not listening to us. When we all tell them to do something, he does something else. He goes to play with the toy even when it's not yet toy time. So they have a plan and routine, and it just goes to the toy section and is happy to just sit down alone. So I was thinking, okay, should we try something else? Maybe if you just talk to him a little in a nice way. Now, remember, it was the only, I don't know if we have other races here, but it was the only black there. So initially I was thinking, oh, maybe he's just not comfortable not seeing other black children and all that. So I was giving all the excuses in this world apart from coming to realization about what it really was. And for me, just having a child go to crèche was enough so that I could focus on my focus, which was work as at that time, you know. And I remember a week after, the woman called me and said she's very happy to return all the money I had paid for the last month. And usually you put a deposit, and that, but she doesn't think she can cope with him. Ha. That was the beginning of our rejection, of our journey of rejection. Um, and I just thought, oh no, she's just being racist. She's just this and that. And of course, I collected my money. I collected the deposit. I took my child. I went to look for another creche. In short, we went round like 3 or 4, 5 creches before it dawned on me that there was a major problem. And I think that was when we had to now sit down, like, what is really happening? In fact, we paid for a private, I remember the private school in Coventry that we paid for. We were also excited. We had been looking forward to this school. And I think one of those days, my son had to tap the teacher to call for our attention. And another child that saw him tapping the teacher because he wasn't speaking, but rather he would use hands to, maneuver, actually went home to report to our own mom that, oh, I saw he mentioned my son's name, and she said, I think he hit the teacher. And trust some mothers, she came to school and she was a big row with the head teacher, like, oh no, my child doesn't feel comfortable being in a class where a boy is hitting the teacher. And the teacher said, no, he didn't hit me, he only pulled me. But once you start that, the school had to call me and say, we're really so big private school, we're really so sorry, but we don't want our other children to start feeling a little bit. And I was thinking, uncomfortable for this small child. How old is he? 4 plus. I mean, which one is uncomfortable in this matter? Like, why would you tell me to take this child away? Because one child felt bad, and the head teacher was like, I'm really so sorry. The PTA, and that's another thing I started to understand about PTA groups, and started to understand about parental groups within school. I remember saying to Abiola, you are not just your child's advocate, you are out there to fight for your child. You are your child's fighter. And then I started to learn that I also have to be on the table. I mean, as the mother of a child with autism, I have to make myself available on that table. Wherever any mother is speaking, I have a right to also speak. And I must not shy away from doing that because I think my child has got special needs. Special needs or no special needs, that child is valuable. Okay. At the end of the day, they gave us our money. And usually for that school, you pay a whole year. They returned everything. They returned everything to us and they bid us farewell. So we're back to square one. What are we going to do? And I don't know how to say this, but I'm going to be open with my story. And I think for mothers that are career mothers, you have to get to a point. I don't want to talk to mothers alone because it's not just the responsibility of a mother. If you're blessed enough to have a partner that supports you, good luck. But if you don't, you have to own it up that you have to be there for your child. Your child is your child. But for those that have partners that are working together with them, well done. Um, why am I saying this? Every woman wants to have her own life too. Apart from being the mother, you're also a career person, maybe. You're also maybe a wife. You also have dreams. You have purposes you want to fulfill. But when our journey starts with children with special needs, a lot of time we have to modify. And I think I came to that realization after that last school. And what that meant was, Shade, you're going to resign. I was at the very peak of my career. I was doing excellently well. I was, for those that know me, they know what I'm talking about. Bukiolo will tell you, I went to university at the age of 14. I'm a very high performing somebody. But the journey of childbearing and special needs and autism slowed it down. But I think sometimes the Lord is doing that in a bid to help us realize the assignment He has given unto us. And why am I saying this? For some women, it might mean you have to modify your life in terms of your career to be able to give that child time. Time is what I think helped me on my journey. Attention for that child is what I think really helped us. I put in a resignation letter. In fact, the trust was really disturbed. Like, why will you resign? Why will you resign? Because I had not shared the journey with anybody. It was something I couldn't believe when they did the assessment when it was about 4.5 years old. And then they gave us the result, the report. That was the end. I couldn't concentrate at work. I couldn't live in with anybody. When you just want to have your child to yourself, like, I can't believe this. Is this, I mean, how is this happening to me? What does this mean? What's the future holding? What's going to happen to us? There were so many why, for those few months. But I think the thing I did, and I didn't even wait for my husband to say yes or no, I just resigned. Now, that's the good thing I like about my employer. They called me immediately, and I think I broke down that day. And that's why I'm saying to you that I celebrate you all for having this kind of a platform. This was non-existent 1980, 17 years ago, and I had to open up to them, and they kind of looked at what was possible. Now I need to share another part of my story so you can understand. Because we were young medics then, we were still in what they call training levels. So which meant I was training to be a psychiatrist, my husband was training to be a nephrologist. So we were actually not living under the same roof. So he was living in another town because that's where he got the training. I was living where the kids were because that's where I got the training. So I remember one of the doctors, I think the neurodevelopmental pediatrician, when she spoke with me, and of course they will ask you about your family dynamics and all that. And she was saying to me that she would advise we all stay under the same roof, which will make it easier to speak the same, asked about language as well. That's another one. And that was actually the beginning of journey of No Yoruba. When you've dreamt of, I'm going to really teach my child my local language, like by the time the grandparents are speaking to him like this, will be firing story. That had to come to a halt because this, I'm sure by now you also understand, you don't want to confuse the child, and you just want the child to stay with one language at least for some time. Thank you. Yes, you want to pick your battles. Yeah, so we had to stick to English, and then that suggestion, I had to move to the other town, which was Manchester. I was in Coventry. I had to move to where the dad was so that we could all be under the same roof. By that time, there was no more job for me, and I was fine with that because I remember as at the time I was still working, I had to think of who was going to take care of him when I had to be on call. As at that time years ago, we used to use neighbors, you use your church pastor's wife, you use a lot of different people just to get, because there were a lot of people that just did not understand what was happening, so they could not, I mean, they could not manage. And I remember, I think that was the one that broke the camel's back. Was my Interestingly, he was potty trained on time, even compared to the sister that wasn't on the spectrum. And but the day I went, I think it was 9 p.m. after my call to pick my child, I saw my child all soiled. It was soiled, not wet, as in, I'll say it, poo all over. He wasn't changed. They left him like that. I couldn't even start to cry. And yes, and that was when I realized that the onus was on me to take care of what God has given to me. I'm sorry, woman, I might be saying the wrong thing. It might not be what you want to hear, but I am repeating to you, there is no better mother than you for your child. That child has been gifted to you for a reason, because the Lord believes that you are equipped to take care of that child. A lot of time we become jellyfish, like, where am I starting from? And that's why I say to women, just stay calm. When you're calm, clarity will come. When you're calm, the support will come. When you're calm, the know-how will come your way. And the people that the Lord wants to use for you on that journey will locate you, or you locate them. And I think that was the day I knew that enough is enough, Auntie Professor. Carry your child and go and take care of your child at home. Okay, so that's how we started. And at home, I remember my employer saying to me that they could, that's another thing I want to share, because that might be important for someone. I mean, another person might say, listen, I'm a single mother, and so how am I going to cope? I'm the breadwinner, so how am I going to cope? My employer called me, and they asked that they were happy to offer me what they call, I don't know what it's called in Canada, because I know that in UK they call it less than full-time training. So, I was still in training to be a psychiatrist then. So, but they offered me less than full-time training, meaning I don't have to work full-time and I could do 2 days or 3 days just to keep me going. And then they also told me the advantage of that even for my mental health, which I am sure you also understand, because I say to people, a healthy mother it's only a healthy mother that can take care of a child on the spectrum. If you're not healthy mentally, physically, psychologically, emotionally, social, you can't. It's a lifelong job. And I repeat, it's a lifelong job because you have different challenges at different stages. Thank you, Becky. Yes, yes, mental health of the primary griever is underrated. And that's why if you know me, if you see me on my platforms, I advocate self-love, self-care. Mental health is my word. You have to take care of you first to be able to take care of another person. You cannot fill from an empty jar. So you have to be filled before you can fill another person. And it goes the same way even for parents. And yeah, so they offered all that initially, but I said to them, I'll be happy to take that after 1 year. I wanted to stay home. So I called it my career break. And I think I took 3 of those through my training period. And I took a whole year, a whole year, a whole year. Anyway, so the whole year, what did I do with that? And I think that was when I had to start thinking of what is next. By the way, I'm not sure if I also shared that with you, that initially, when usually in UK, they give you schools, when the child is of school age, which is usually around that 5, they give you schools close to where your address is, around your neighborhood. And I think we had about 12. None of them gave my child a place. They now sent me a letter from the main, they call it the council, and said to me that because of the need of my child, that they were going to be sending him to what they call the special needs school. Remember, I had no support, I had nobody, I knew nobody, and I didn't understand what they were saying. As at that time, to be honest, my husband was not on the same page with me, because in his mind, it was like, oh, it's shade of money, he's just being a boy, allow him, he'll grow out of it. But I knew it was more than that. So I remember the day they sent me the letter to come view the special needs school, which is the school they said he's going to be attending. And I remember going there on my own that day. When I got there, they said to me they're not going to let me go inside because I need to have someone that was going to. Yes, yes, 15 years ago without the awareness was horrible. And that's why I'm breaking it down so you appreciate, because sometimes we grumble rather than count our blessings, naming them one by one. I remember getting there and they told me they're not going to let me in until I had an advocate or somebody like a supporter. And those were new words to me. Um, and I was like, what does that mean? And they said, because they've experienced that a lot of parents go in there and they break down. I was thinking breakdown. Maybe it's just a school. You just call this special needs school. So what's the big deal? That was the way and now saying that, you have to understand, I just came to the Western world newly from Nigeria, all those periods. So all these names, all those things were so new. Nobody, no family, no nothing, you know. So they put me in an office, then they called, they made a lot of different phone calls. Apparently there's a group of what they call parent partnership. There's a group of women or even men that I think it's something like like a group like this, that their business is just to support parents of children on the spectrum. So they are ever ready. They're in that office waiting for that call to jump on into their car and come support you. So after some few minutes, a lady came, called me to the side and just said to me, I'm here for you. And I was thinking, here for me for what now? Like, let's go inside and go and view this thing. Let this child just start school. But I can also have something to do with my own life, And she was like, if you need anything, if you do this, and that's how we started. Hey, God. From the door till the very end of that school, but I don't think I've ever wept as much as I was weeping that day. And the now I'm sorry if there are people here that their kids are in special needs school. There's nothing wrong with it. Remember that I'm only sharing my story. And to be honest, I've had to hold their hands. And after evaluating the child, I also would encourage such people to put the child initially maybe in a special needs school and then later maybe gradually graduate. But as at that time, I did not think there was a need for my child to be in such a school. And I don't know if any of you have had to go through this. You can imagine it can be traumatic. And now I now understand why they needed someone to be there for me. It was traumatic. From the door, I remember seeing a child on a wheelchair, not communicating at all. And I got to another room where two people were holding a child down. Then they took me through another room they called the sensory room. And there was another child there that another woman was cuddling in the corner. Then they took me, and it was just, I did not see a blackboard. I did not see chalk. I did not see pencil or crayon. And it was almost like, I'm not sure, maybe those were because of those days. I don't know. But that was, and it was meant to be one of the best special needs schools. And I wept. I really wept. And I think that was the time, if I, everything I had never said to God in my life, I said it to him at that moment and more. I was all over the place. And I'm so grateful that they had that, that's that organization, to have someone to support you. You can't do the journey alone. And I will say to you women, this is not the time to be shying away from asking or seeking help. If you have it out there, you cannot walk that journey alone. Even 18 years after, I'm telling you, we're at another phase now, the phase of the adulthood. It's not a journey you can walk on your own. And I remember getting back to the front desk. Tea was ready. They had tea for me. They had cookies ready. The usual our both things now. They had it all ready. Hugs here and there. I was thinking, "Hey, number so you don't understand. This is not where I want to be. This is not where I think I should be. This is, so there were a lot of different emotions that day. I went back home and they wanted me to sign a form, which meant I was going to accept. Now, I think the beautiful thing was I had taken that career break. So I had time. And which is what I think every parent going through this need to find that time. Because to be honest, I repeat, time and attention is what is very important with these children. The following week, I think that week I was at home, I cried very well. And that was the week I stumbled on prayer rain. Sorry, I'm not an MFM member, so I'm not advocating MFM. Whatever works for you, use. For me, I needed that succor. I needed that time alone with God. And the book that helped me, my devotion then, was the prayer rain. I chewed that book like no man's business. I would lock myself up in the room and I would pray like that is it, prayer rain. I prayed the prayer rain back to back. I've never entered MFM. I repeat, I have never ever entered MFM, but I found that book useful. And why am I saying this? Don't have to be affiliated to anything, but if you find materials that work for you, I say to people, pick the one that is going to work for you, take it and run with it. It doesn't have to be a book. It might be an audio. It might be a YouTube channel. It might be platforms like this. It might be a podcast talking about it. Find what works for you and run with it. It was after I had chewed that thing for like 4 days. By Sunday, I was just like, what are you doing? So, okay, you have prayed, you have been praying, you have been praying. So what next? You've not signed this paper, so meaning this child is, and already other children had started school. I now decided that I'll put this child in the stroller. We'll be going from one school to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other, begging for. When I was saying to Abiola that you are your child's fighter, I'm sure she was smiling. And I will go from one school to the other, and I wanted them to see this beautiful boy. I wanted them to see this fantastic boy. You people are seeing something else, but you're forgetting to see this good part of him. Just give him a chance. I'm telling you, the rejection I got for close. I remember I had to call. I'm not sure if she's on here because I think I invited two of my sisters here to join as well because they also know a bit of my journey. And I remember what I had to call for one of them. By that time, I'd moved to Manchester. She was schooling. She was doing a master's in Coventry. I actually had to call for Titi to come join me. It was too much. Remember, I had a second child. And we'll come to that. We'll talk about the siblings as well. And I had to call for, she was like, Auntie Shade, how are you going to be doing this? I said, no, I am going one school to the other, that the Lord will just favor me in one of these places. The Lord must favor this child. That was the way I was then. And I went from one school to the other. We finally got to one school. And the woman looked at me. In fact, as she was looking at me, you see the way she was looking at me, I was like, Shade Buseku, just cry. Just cry straight away. Yeah. And I'm saying again, I've told you are your child's fighter. You will use emotions. You will use what you have to get what you need to get for your child. It's very key. I am not saying manipulate, but there are times when you just have to just be yourself. And she was staring at me, and I was staring at her, and I just started to cry. I cried, I cried, I cried. She called me into the office. I cried so much. She took the baby off, the boy off me. They took him to, I think they have their after school club or something, creche or something. They took him away to just go and play. And then she looked at me and she was like, we don't have a space. I said, I mean, how am I going to keep an able-bodied child in the house and this child will not be schooled? And she was like, the problem is because of the resources, that they might not have enough resources to support him. I was like, start with whatever you have. So in UK, they call something Action Plus. If you're not yet on the statement, and I'm coming back to that. For a very long time, I was encouraged to have the child statemented. But in my mind, I was like, by the minute they statement my child, I don't know, for those that don't understand, I'll break it down in a minute. By the minute they statement my child, that is stigma. They've told me that for life, this boy is going to be labeled autistic. So I said, no, I didn't want statement. I didn't want anybody to do any statement. And this is me, a medic, a learned person. So I am saying this and I'm coming out in my vulnerability to let you realize that even at that level, there were two medics in the home, but maybe due to our culture, maybe due to our upbringing, it was going to be a no-no with statement, because what that meant, once they tell you that your child is statemented, it shows on most of the records, if you know what I mean. But saying that, what that also means is that there will be available support to help the child all the way through. That's it. Thank you. Aha. Taking that IEP is hard because they will break things down to you. They will start with speech. How much can the child say? Does this child need a one-to-one? Does this child need another teacher in class? Does this child need this? Does this child need that? There are times it depends on the way your mind is processing it. I mean, for me, initially, I was thinking, does that mean they will now take him out of all the other children and then another teacher will be teaching him something else when the other children are moving in this direction, if you get what I'm trying to say. So it took a long time for me to accept it. I mean, and the one that was even worse, when the educational psychologist comes and they start to tell you, yes, you have a 7-year-old, but he's actually performing at a 3-year-old level. And what are we talking about? What are you saying? What are we saying? My child is 7 years old, and then you're not telling me he's performing at a 3-year-old. So what should we do now? As in, this information, and I don't know if you understand the impact of even that sentence statement at all. In your mind, you're like, what is this? So you have just told me now that, in short, I have let me use the word, I don't even know, is it disabled child or what are you saying to me? Okay, until I started to understand the language, and you have to get it, because when you understand the language, when you understand the know-how, it makes the journey faster. Running back, the woman finally said to me she was going to give us a trial of 1 term. And by hoping that time we will get what they call the Action Plus. Action Plus is because this child isn't statemented, we will try and pull some things together within the school, what we can, to help support the child. So as at that time, we got a speech and language therapy stuff within the school. I was doing mine from outside, which was from our own private thing, and they got an educational psychologist to come in. I remember calling that woman that supported me when I went to the special needs school, because she gave me a card, gave me a number, and I asked her that I am new to this, and what am I supposed to know? What am I supposed to do? They've given him a school placement now, but I don't know. So she now said to me that is what they do. Bless you, Toshi. Bless you. The number of tears we have shed concerning these children. One thing I just know is that there is joy at the end of it all. Just as long as you can just believe that. And you know, I've held on to not sharing my story for so long because sometimes encouraging me, it's not easy to share your journey, and it's not easy to remember 18 years of the last of your life. But anyway, I remember now speaking to that lady and asking that, what am I supposed to know? What am I supposed to do? And then she said to me, are you happy for me? Thank you, Uche. Are you happy for me? She said, are you happy for me to be your advocate? And I was like, yes, 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 to everything, but you have to explain what that means, you know. And she now said to me that have I ever thought about it, that every time I go in for a meeting concerning that child, all I am doing is crying and coming out of the room, and everything they've discussed goes in here and comes out this way, you know. And that is true, because you're just so emotional. You're just so, you know, you can't believe what they're saying. You can't believe this is happening to you. You're questioning God, you're questioning yourself, you're questioning what happened. You're thinking back, did I drink anything during, you know, during pregnancy, or before, you know, had a delay in fertility? Is this is this an attack from the village? Is, you know, there's so many things that will just be running through your mind. My sister, just stay calm. Just stay calm. So having that advocate really helped a lot. That pregnancy part, a lot. You think about everything and anything. I mean, this particular pregnancy for me, they told me I was at the borderline of, because I have PCOS. PCOS is polycystic ovary syndrome. So for that particular pregnancy, I felt it was the best pregnancy ever. No Coke, no Maltina, no this, no that. I had a nutritionist that was on top of me like no man's business. And then this happened. So at a point, even my mind was thinking, oh, is it because I didn't even eat everything everybody was eating now? You know, could it be because they won't let me have meat? They won't let me have this. They won't let me have that. Could it be that? You know, I remember thinking again, oh, we went to Lanzarote during that pregnancy. Abi, you know, I remember that I ate this fish, a shellfish, something. Oh, is it that one? You know, you'll be looking for different things. My sister, there's no point. The past is the past. You can't change the past. Let's move forward. So you face forward, you focus on your focus, and you keep moving. So and I realized that that lady coming in as my advocate really helps. Yes. Yeah. You know, exactly. Thank you, Tochi. After all the exam wahala, after all the immigration wahala, after everything, then ASD comes. Well, awesome God. The woman will be in the room, and I felt comfortable with her, but she said to me that we're going to have to be very open if I'm going to be your advocate. And so she will be in the room. She had a big book like this. She will be writing. Whatever she was writing, only God knows. She'll be writing. They'll be talking. She'll be writing. And then, you know, suddenly she'll poke me. I didn't even know that I was lost in thoughts during those meetings. I wasn't there. You know, she'll poke me. She'll poke me. They're asking me a question. I'll say, which question? I wasn't there. So just imagine I didn't even have an advocate. So I'll just be there. They'll just say, Mrs. Ogundare, did you hear what we said? Are you happy with that decision? What else will I say? Yes, yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. You know, that's what I'll say now. So, but with that advocate, that really went a long way. I'm hoping, I'm believing, and trusting God that that is very, very available in Canada right now and other places. If not, I think it is something that I'm praying that the Lord will give someone a vision concerning that, because it is key. You know, this woman will usually be the one that will not ask the question on my behalf, you know, like, when is the educational psychologist coming in? When are we having this child statemented? When are we referring the child? And there were a lot of new terminologies I did not know, but she knew because she was trained in that line, and she asked a lot of questions. And she was the same one that said to me, this, when it was almost the end of, remember they gave us only one term. She said, no way. That's how she brought out this equality, something, something for children. Every child matters. They cannot send this, the minute that this child is already under one roof, it is their responsibility. It is their, you know, the English was just, I love people that are very knowledgeable in their field, you know. And she said so many things, and she looked at the head teacher and she said, this boy is going nowhere. This boy is already secured in the school. What we need to do now is get the right support to support him. And I was just looking like, look at it, like, what's all this one? You know, and before we knew it, they started to, think about all the, the speech and language thing. Then they now brought in this proper action plus. And then that was when the woman now called me to the side and said, why haven't you allowed him to be statemented? I was like, no, we're not statementing this boy. And, she was so calm, so gentle to explain it to me that you're not doing him a favor by not getting the statement. Because if we have the statement, then we have a lot of things to even fight for, because the government will release some amount of funds and blah, blah, blah to the school to help support him. I cannot do that statement is something alone. So I had to go. Remember all this period, though, it was Shade dealing with this because husband was not ready to, the boy is just being a boy. So I had to ask for the wisdom of God on how to speak about this to him. So I had to take home all the things I had been doing from school and blah 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 home to let him realize what's been happening and the what the advocate had been doing, where we had got into and all that, and then coming to this statementing section. It was not, yes, they find it really hard to come to terms with it. I don't know. Even till now, I think sometimes it goes, you see what I was telling you that it's going to grow out of it. And I'm smiling like, for you, after all the wahala of almost 16 years, you now think he's growing out of it. He's not growing out. It's not that he has grown out of it. It is the work that has been put in place to help him that is making you see all this, and you suddenly think he's grown out of it. But anyway, and that's why you have to understand. Hey, the journey, most of the time, it falls on the woman. And that's why I'm going to reiterate it. You have to take care of yourself. It's a lot. It's not something that is easy. It's a lot. At all times, you must remember to take care of yourself. Um, and I remember after that, we had that discussion. Then they finally got the statement. We got the statement, and it was as if something just turned around. It was before we knew what was going on, there was some set of people called Senko. Now I don't know what it's called in Canada. Sorry, I'm still new here, but in UK, that's a special education need coordinator and stuff like that. And before I knew it, they created a room in the school called the sensory room. So they now took time to assess him and identified when he starts to struggle. So he starts to struggle straight after the lunchtime when it's getting to afternoon. So they take him into that sensory room. Now I'm remember the special needs school. I told you that I saw someone in a room holding a child. So they created something like that, which I actually now took home to go and imitate because I realized I was working for him. So there was a room where they bought this bubble. And I think for the ladies that are on here that I asked to join, you remember that I said it to you before. I call it a water bubble. And this water bubble, when the child is there's a name. A lot of the Amazon and stuff have it. It's like a bubble. It's in a long tube like this. It could have dolphins, it could have bubbles, it could have different things, but it makes a little bit of sound. And when you plug it on, different lights coming on. And I realized that they did that in that room, and it was like a quiet, calm room. And anytime they take him in there, he settles. So I decided I was going to, mimic the same thing at home, and I did that. And that even till now, we use night light because that's another thing. For some of us who might have children that struggle with sleep, that was a big one on its own. And at a point, they were even going to start him on medication. And I'm going to talk about medication in a bit. But before starting medication, they asked us to use different techniques to see if it will work. And thank God it worked. But for some people, the child might need to be on medication, and that is okay. That is okay if you're working with your pediatrician or your child psychiatrist that is supporting you. I would not say it's a no to medication. If medication is not necessary, don't. But if medication is what is being advised, depending on the level the child is at, that is okay. It doesn't mean the child will be on it for the rest of his or her life. It might just be for a certain time. But your doctor will advise you. Why am I saying that? A lot of us from Africa, we run away from medication. And I think we're not doing the child the right thing by not allowing them to be on that. The makeup of a lot of this medication is to settle them, is to calm them down. is to help them to be able to function at their optimal level. But not allowing them to be on it is depriving them of what they really need. I'll leave it at that. We can ask questions later regarding that. Okay, so that was it for sleep. That was it for the bubble. That helped. So if you've got a child in a school, do not shy away from asking for anything you need. Sensory room, they should bring it. They have money. I say it, all those schools, they have money. In fact, they have money that they don't know that they have. And I'll come to that. Even for the adult one, even recently, there were a few things that they have money that they have this pocket of money that is meant to help support our children that even they are not tapping into. And why? Because we're not asking. And that's why it's important. You must be like 20 steps ahead of even the school. And what that means is you must be knowledgeable, you must ask questions, you must know. So and that was our journey, and the child flourished all through. I mean, of course, with support, and then we got to the stage of the secondary school, which was so that on my paper here, what I put is the different stages. You have the 0 to 7, you battle with that. You have the 8 to 12, then you have those teenagers, and then you have to think about the adults. So every stage is different, and you have to remember we're talking about a spectrum. For some children, the symptoms are mild. For others, it's moderate. For some, it's very severe. So it depends on every child is different, and you have to know your child and support your child based on what your child is manifesting. But one thing I've realized about children on the spectrum, they function very well with structure. Meaning, I know that I'm supposed to be awake by 7 o'clock, and between 7 and 8 o'clock, I'm supposed to be having breakfast. And then you go and wake this child up at 9. The child's mind is already, the child is already focused on waking for routine. Thank you. Structured routine. The child is already used to, by 9 to 10, I'm playing with my toy. By 10 to 11, I'm supposed to be doing writing. By 11 to 12, so they function better that way. I hope you agree with me on that. That's my experience, and also for a lot of the children that I take care of in the clinic. Yes. Okay, we'll talk about that, Fiki, in a minute. Remember to write the question somewhere. We'll talk about it. When parents say, I struggle with routine, I also say, well done, Becky. I'm a learning curve. I also say, only a disciplined parent can discipline a child on the special needs spectrum. If you are not a disciplined mom or woman or parent, it's hard. And what that means is you're telling a child, go and sleep at 7. And even you are still awake at 10. The child, remember that they are visual. They learn more with what they see is what they I call them photographic memories. I call them visual memories. What they see is what they know. So at 7:30, all lights are still on. But you're telling this child, you're telling this child to sleep by 7, but 7:30, the lights are all still on. And then you are telling the child to sleep by 7, but you're not helping the matter. So you're going to have to also work with the child and, have a routine yourself. So by the time you've said we're finishing food is over by 8 p.m., it's not that time that you now put water on for Eba. You want to eat your own Eba at 9. No. So you have to walk your life. Of course, we don't want our life to forever be that rigid, but it is what it is, and we have to be true to self. So you have to walk things around in such a way that, the child can know that by 6:55, lights are off, the whole room, everybody's ready. It takes a disciplined mom. I have to be honest with you. This journey, these 18 years has taught me so much. I didn't even know I had learned so much. Until one of the days I started to write, and it's taught me so much. As I'm speaking to you right now, he has sent me a text message. There's something he needs to do today, and it has to be done today. There's no, if he doesn't do it today, you have messed the routine up. I'm just explaining it, that kind of a thing. If he's meant to fill a university application form and it is 3 o'clock, you cannot say that give me till 3:30. The 3 o'clock is 3 o'clock. Even I learned discipline through the child. I also learned being timely. I also learned keeping to my words with the child, because you've told the child, I'll pick you up for 3 o'clock. And by 3:10, you're not yet there. You know what you would do to a child on the spectrum? The child is fidgety, the child is looking around, the child is thinking 1001 things. So if you're meant to be at the school for 3, you better start driving from 2:30 and be there. Don't let the child come out and the child is feeling all lost, and cannot process why is mommy not here. That's another problem. Last week, sorry, now I'm talking a lot, I'm putting in different things, but I hope you're picking something out of it. I have another colleague that has a child on the spectrum, and the child also has ADHD. Now, few weeks before, the child had broken down in the middle of exam because he panicked, he couldn't complete the exam, and the school had to call that they should come pick the child up. That was fine. I mean, we went through all that, we had that talk. Then last week, the child was writing another exam, and then the mother sent a message to me like, am I at the school? Can I pick the child up? And I said, I don't understand. And she said she feels that the child has broken down again. I said, I don't understand. Where are you? Are you working? She said, no. What are you doing right now? She said, I'm at home. And then you're asking me to go pick that child. That child needs you now. Go there. The child is not going to be able to express himself with me if I'm the one that picks this child up. The child needs a mother's hug and that reassurance on your face to say, don't worry, calm down, it's going to be okay. And I don't know if you're getting what I am saying. There's some things you're going to have to understand prioritizing. What is important to you? What is important to you? um the mother was thinking that, oh, I can delegate, and delegation is good, and I'll tell you where delegation comes in. But when it comes to that child, I don't joke with mine. you know at that moment, everything that is ringing on my brain is, this child needs you, get to that school ASAP. In fact, I remember I would say to the receptionist, please do not let him walk out, just let him sit down with you till I get there. And you're your child's fighter. Your child and yourself, there's a bond between a mother and a child on the spectrum, because you're the one there. There are times we don't have to speak. Our eye connection does all the speaking. The child doesn't even have to talk to you. Just holding you at that moment tells that child, I am fine. I am with the person that understands me. You know, my child loves hugging. It was a big wahala because we also had to learn and teach boundaries. Hugs were the things. Hmm, hugging. Now I can hug for Africa. I know it was a big wahala, but later I understood that hug was just to say, I'm okay, I'm fine, mom. Am I okay? Are you okay with me? Hey, to go to bed, if it doesn't hug, it must, is everybody, the whole household must be hugged. There's no story. You can't break it. Okay. Then we now got to the stage where, that's why I said I broke it down to the age. Okay, 0 to 7, if you're still hugging everybody, hug teacher, they will hug you. Hug carer, they will hug you. Everybody will hug you. But when you get to age 8 to 12, remember, you're in the midst of other children. Even age 8 girl is already burdened with breast and all that. Age 10 boy is like, don't touch me, don't move near me. So we now had to come to the level of even teaching boundaries, because that was another one. And I think what I would say to parents here, I know you did that icebreaker thing. Well done for that. I think while you were doing that, I was writing something down. We had to come to the child's level. You will kneel down and have koro eye like this, eye to eyeball, to teach a child. Imagine, and interestingly, ours was, by the time it was 7, he looked like a 10-year-old. By the time it was, it was 5, he looked like a 7-year-old. So it was another big one, but you have to come to the child's level, call the child by the child's name, let the child look you in the eye. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about in terms of eye level, eye contact, and teach the child in simple terms. This is not the time to be an Americana speaking mother. This is not the time to be a Canadian phonetic mother. It doesn't work. Keep it simple. Simple English, simple instruction. They understand what you want them to do. This is not the time to say, Joshua, go into the fridge, pick the yellow ball, bring it out, put it in the microwave. After the microwave, bring it out, get a cutlery, start to eat. When you finish, pack your plate, put it. What? It's all confusing. Keep it simple. Josh, open the fridge, get your food out, eat. Simple. When you now finish that phase, then we can go, Josh, are you done? Well done. Take your bowl into the sink, wash your plate. Simple. But of course, the way, even me, I know that I'm a very fast talker. So you can imagine, for me, I can talk in, like that, like that, like that, like that. So imagine, it got to a point I had to teach myself you will slow down, okay? You will really slow down. Like, you will really slow down. You don't have to say everything in 1 minute. Keep it simple. That's what works for children on the spectrum. Very, very keep it so simple that even ridiculously simple, it's okay. You don't have to, this is not the time to be teaching synonyms in your sentences and statements. Just keep it simple and let them and keep to the same thing. It's not today that you call a bowl, then tomorrow that bowl has become a dish. What are you doing? Let the bowl be bowl. Let the child understand that when I'm talking about this, I mean a bowl. When I'm talking about dish, then I'm talking dish. Or do you understand? So I'm sure you get what I'm trying to say in terms of keep it very simple. And I think that really worked for us. I'm picking some points out. What else did I put here? There's so many things. So we moved from that phase. Of course, I'm not saying that I cannot remember a phase that was battle free. Let me put it that way. But like I said to Abiola, me, I'm a fighter. By the time I came to the realization that this is the journey I'm on, I was ready. And when you're ready, you're ready. Because when you're ready, what that means is you will equip yourself. You will equip yourself with knowledge. You will equip yourself with know-how. There is no Senko. I gave Senko instructions, as in you are in charge. You, the parent, you are in charge. Don't let any school or any organization be the one leading you. Tell you are in charge. This child is your child. So you go into school, please, can I send an email? I want to have a meeting with you concerning ping, 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 ping. You go for the meeting, you tell them what you think they need to do, you tell them what you think they need to be, that your child needs. Yes, you are ready. When you're ready, you're ready. And they know. And I realized that the minute they realized that this woman has moved from the crying, crybaby mother to the very ready mother, they will sit up. There were times I had to call the head teacher. I don't have business with this Senko woman again. She doesn't understand the assignment. Let's talk to the head teacher. In fact, that particular one, I don't know where the boldness came from. But you see, that's what I'm saying. When you understand your assignment as a fighter, nobody can stop you. I remember calling the head teacher, and by that time I had already familiarized myself with there's this thing, the ministry, something on children with needs. I read that thing in total to understand they have a right. I remember every time I was speaking, my child has a right to, my child has a right to, my child has a. I'm sure they were so sick and tired of this woman that my child has a right to, and they'll go like, oh, sometimes a little disruptive. I am not saying it's not disruptive. What is the solution? What do we have to do? My child has a right to, he's going to be included. He's not going to be neglected. He's not going to be excluded. I learned English, and you have to learn the English. It's very important. You have to learn the English that you're going to use so that nobody just puts you on the sideline and you start feeling like maybe the child is inconvenient. There's nothing. That every child on that spectrum is valuable. And every child on that spectrum, if you are in this Western world, we'll talk about the Niger one. I'm coming. I know there are some people here from Nigeria. And if you are in the Western world, listen, they are collecting money on every single child. Let that money be working for that child. Don't think that they are doing you a favor. They are not doing you any favor. Sorry. Ask for what your child needs. Thank you, Vicky. You need to be, thank you. They are not doing you a favor. There is money allocated for every child in every system. Use it to your advantage. Let them know you for who you are. In fact, let them know you from, as they are coming, like the receptionist is sending message to the head teacher that woman, that child, she's coming. So let them be ready. No, it's okay. It's okay. We did all that fighting. The secondary school one, even up to now, I remember when I had to now call for some of his reports, and I'll share something with you. When I had to call for some of his report, even from UK, and they wanted, I reminded them that they know who I am. I'm on my way. I'll come myself. If I have to fly, I will fly and come and collect this thing. If you cannot send it via email to me, Let them know who you are. You are fighting your child's fight. Let me share one with you. And the reason why I want to share this with you is in this journey, I am not, I don't know the plans that the Lord has for any child, but I'm doing my part as the child's guardian on earth to help this child fulfill purpose. I remember at the very beginning talking about university care, even secondary school, we could not think that far. It was living every day, one day at a time. I'm praying that God will just, let's live the next day. But I remember what really helped. I think I was sharing it with Abiola the other day as well. I was at the very start when we're not even school was not even it was much younger, and they were teaching us how to. You have to help me with that name in case a lot of these things I'm forgetting. You're bringing them on again. Is it Makaton? That one that we have to be learning lip reading. You learn how to lip read, how to. So I was already even in a class where I was being taught how to lip read, meaning you just the way the child will, different, and we all sit down. And I remember there was no black in that class, and that's another thing. I think it was our culture. We're not, and that's why I'm saying you're so blessed to have this kind of community. It was an Asian community. And I remember a mother coming to me. She saw the way I was looking so distressed and disturbed. And she was, you're going to be all right. You only have one child, right? I said, that has the problem. I said, yes. And she was like, I've got three. I've got three. One has got ADHD and autism. One has got autism. And in my mind, I was like, she ain't not by son. Is that what we're talking? As it was, but I don't want to hear. The one that is my business is my child. But it was days later, I actually thought about it like, how is she coping? Three children on the spectrum in different, dimensions and direction. But she was still standing. She was still happy. She was still talking. She was still even willing to help another person like myself. Um, and I just pray that the know-how, the will, the zeal to keep moving will come, because the way I'm talking, you think that there are very, very down days, very, very mighty down days. But one thing I remember that also worked was knowing the child's strength. I was really daydreaming that we were going to have a footballer son. Hey God, hey God, as in, you don't understand. When we moved to Manchester, I knew all the coaching clubs for children. Football, I'm not joking, I can tell you. We moved to a location where it was so close to, those coaching. I was looking for the goalkeeper of life, everything. I was really looking forward to it. I booked my son. I was age 4 or 5. They usually start very early for those that know this football thing, that are really into all those things in UK. I booked my son into the class. Omolomo. Those football thing that they put those like those cones, that they put cones all over. That's how my son entered the place. He saw cones all over. Hey, he started packing them. He was packing them cones one by one. These cones were meant to be demarcations, to the way to dribble. And my son started packing cones. The coach looked at me. The coach, even me, I didn't understand what I was meant to do. Looked at me, looked at the boy. They went to meet him like, leave the cones. Oh, the boy, and that's another thing. You have to know your child. So mine is so organized. Things have got to be well arranged. So those cones were disturbing him. That how can you scatter cones all over the place like this? He was arranging the thing for them. The man was going shouting, no, leave it. It was arranged. You didn't hear anything. No. All he heard was, how can cone just be scattered? He was arranging the thing. We had paid money. We went for the next one. By the third time, you see this rejection thing. The man came, said he will refund everything, but please take your child away. As in, very far away. And then we got him, and I was like, and then I also noticed that he was struggling, and that's the thing in terms of mobility and also sensory. His fine motor skills were not very the fine ones. So all that dribble, move this way, move that way, it was too much for him. It was just too much. And I was there as a mother, feeling already dejected, that so I will not have a footballer. Ha, father. But one thing I noticed from childhood was this boy can run for Africa. You don't hold him like this, he's gone. Remember, I told you about the shopping complexes, you know, and you make it that it was because of him. I learned how to. What's that thing that you tie to yourself and tie to the child? Just you know what I'm talking about. That rain, we had that. But if you mistakenly forget, you'll be running 440. Now I'm going back to the leash. Thank you. And that thing was, I remember some people will see us in church when we're still going to the African church and they go like, what's all this one? I just be tying a child. But we knew what we were dealing with. So remember I said this was in childhood. Now coming to teenage, when we're trying to identify what is he good at, what is he not good at. That's how we stumbled on what they call cross country. So for those that know cross country, the child is just running. She's just running. It's just running and just running. I remember when he did that cross country, he came second. And it was a lot. And he came second. And in my mind, I was like, oh, you've just given him what he knows how to eat. Let him just be running. Let him expend that energy. I don't know if you're getting where I'm going. So for us, it was a, I don't know, we like call it a bad trait, but it's actually coming out in a good way. So you need to know what your child's strengths are and how you can maximize that. So we ended up with, cross country being one of our best things. And because he's quite tall and all that, we also now had to help him with learning basketball. So I never had a footballer, but I know that I have a boy that can throw and I have a boy that can run. So, those are the things you have to start to identify. When he was 7 years old, he loves music. Music, remember I told you about the sensory room? So the sensory room, anything music calms him down. And I realized we were using that to our advantage. And then someone said to us that try him on some instruments. And I was thinking, what instrument? And then he said, yes, identify your child's strength, find way to channel their strength. Yes. And I remember him saying, he couldn't say much, but because we had different toys that were instruments, he pointed towards the saxophone. And in my mind, I was like, but boy, man, try Aisha. We've not even started playing. Normally, you are going to saxophone. But every time we tried piano, he would say no. Every time you were just, so the sister at that time had started, what's that, the clarinet. And I said, do you want that? He said, no. He put his hand saxophone. So I had to look for a school then that were, the saxophone school then in Manchester. And I remember when I got there, they said, how old is he? I said 7. They said, no, sorry. They have to be about 10 because it's quite big and heavy to be able to lift it and stuff like that. I was like, no, maybe you're not listening to me. He's 7, but he's a 10 body, that kind of a thing. And they're like, no, he has to be. I was like, you know what, all these, no, because those are the things I also started to learn. When you speak to them and the minute they just say on the spectrum, they block it. So most of the time, it's better you go with the child so they can see what can the child do, what can the child not do, rather than judging just based on what they've heard from you or what they see on paper. So I already understood that. So I took him with me and they gave him the instrument to hold. And that was the beginning of our journey. And he's played saxophone ever since. And after that, he learned. So I'm just explaining that you find what works for you. Yours might not be saxophone. Yours might be drumming. Yours might be piano. Yours might be ballet. Yours might be gymnastic. Yours might be something else. It might not even be that. Your child might even be an orator. Your child might be a writer. Your child might, just make sure you find those things that they are good at doing. Maximize it to the best of the child's ability. I think I've talked a lot. I was pause. Start the questions, start them coming. One more thing I don't want us to forget is the sibling, the effect of the child on the siblings. And I think I was sharing it with Avila the other day. So remember, look, imagine all those things I've been talking about in our life that we had kept going, and there was a second one. That was just following us about. When we're trying to teach Oga how to write, she will be doing her own homework. when we're trying to teach him how to lace, because that one was another big one, you know, the fine lacing shoes and all that. She had done her shoes. She was ready to go. She would just be standing by the door. But, you know, for me, I thought, oh, that's good. Thank God, at least I don't have to struggle with two of them with this. So, you know, but until she was about, I think she was 8 or 9, that in UK, there's this exam to get into what they call the grammar school. So there are some schools that they call grammar schools as secondary school. They're meant to be what, like the way we had federal government girls colleges, federal government colleges in Nigeria. So you have to do some exams to get into it. So I remember when she was practicing and all that, and I was like, ah, well done. How did you know that? And that's how the girl blotted out, and she was like, nobody has time for me in this house. Nobody thinks about me in this house. Everybody, you have only one person you focus on. All I am doing is learning from what you're teaching him. And that's how I knew that. Oh my goodness. You can imagine my heart shattered into the pieces was all over the place. Like, what did she just say? Like, what did she just say? If I remember calling my husband that Ati Rogo, like there's a big, big trouble on our table, you know. And of course, we had to explain, no, 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 we love you so much. We love you so, but she had been harboring that within. She had been keeping it, and whatever it was that she was thinking about. And I'm going to be honest with you, even till now, yes, they are. Even till now, where you have to be intentional to not put all the focus on the one child. That's the one with siblings. You have to be intentional, not to put, because it's just you're not doing it deliberately, but you just realize that this is the one we need, and this is the one we're kind of focused on. But it matters, and it's two-way. I say that there are some siblings that they're even the fighter for that sibling, is the sibling with the need. And there's some other siblings that will actually go the other way because they feel you're neglecting them, or you don't have time for them, or you're not spending enough time with them, or you're not doing enough for them. Thank you, Nina. Yeah, exactly, exactly. So we have, the two of them, I have three, but the two of them were, they were the early ones. They go to school together. She comes back. There is no report from teacher. There's nothing from anybody. So how was school? Fine. That's all. I leave her. Is that Oga? How was school? What do we have to practice today? Are we doing C? Those days of still trying to teach them how to, curve out this. The sibling is already done her own homework. She's finished everything she's done the next day's on. At a point we're doing common, she's finished all that thing. I don't even look at it because in my mind she's fine. So let's look at this uncle that we still have to trace and pull and until that statement. And I'm so glad she actually said it, because to be honest, you have some siblings that this whole process has become traumatic for them even in adulthood, and they feel neglected all through the journey. And that's why it's important when they get to a point where you think they're matured enough to understand, you need to come to their level and explain to them what is happening with their sibling. And you have to let them know that they are loved, and you have to show them love. It's not just by mouth. You have to show them love, and you have to include them in the journey. I've had situations where people ask me, oh boy, including them on the journey, isn't that actually making it more stressful for their own life? I say again, their name is sibling. They cannot remove it. We might not be able to choose the family we are born into, but you see that family that you are born into it. There's nothing you want to do about it. You can become an older person and then decide that I'm going to change my name. I'm going to whatever you want. Your DNA, our DNA is running inside you. Our genetics or genes or whatever is running through. So they need to know the journey as well when they get to that age of maturity. Some children are more mature than others, and they mature faster than others, and they can assess it and process it faster than some others. But you will know, because they are your children. You will know the right time to do the right thing. But I think what I'm trying to bring out is, don't neglect the others because of one or two, depending on, um, on what you need to do. Um, I think those are there are a few things I also wrote when you were doing the ice breaking in terms of family activities and accommodating them. Very, very key. And it all depends. I've met two sides or two different types of parents, depending on how you want to process it. Some will fight. I think sometimes there are some fights that are not necessary. And there are some that you need to put your feet forward. And I'll give example. When they were much younger, flying, if we have to fly from one place to the other, going on the plane was a very difficult one. We didn't understand what was happening then. I think we had not even gotten the diagnosis as at that time. And what I remember is we'll be on the flight and it was chaotic. He will scream, scream, scream. You can imagine going on like 4 hours journey and the child is screaming from beginning till the very end. And we were feeling embarrassed. So we're feeling really embarrassed. So, like everybody's we're really sorry, we're really sorry, we're really sorry. There's no sorry for anything. No. When we now realize that you have a right to let them know we have a child on the spectrum here. Can you give us in fact, we now started getting the right seat. They were putting us in front, that section where your legs can stretch and you can have more than enough room, to have the child. They will give us that position. Or there are times they ask us, are we happy to stay at the back? So when the child is like upset, it's easy to go to the bathroom, or the washroom, or it's easy to at least manage the child rather than be at the very front. Exactly. And if you have ego where then maybe business class, but do not be ashamed of your child. Wherever you find yourself, wherever you are, make sure that they include them. What other things I know that help were a lot of play therapy, art therapy, occupational therapy. There are lots of therapies as they get older as well. Even one-to-one, what's it called? Counseling helps. One-to-one CBT helps depending on the age and their understanding. It does help. So yes, they will call the child a spoiled child. They will call you parents that are not in, and that's why it's important to inform the flights beforehand that we have such a situation. And can you put us in such seats? You ask, you ask for you have to know your right to know what to demand. And I think I have shared more than enough. What I want to wrap up with is, do not ever give up on your child. That child was fearfully and wonderfully created, and there is nothing impossible for God. I want to believe that we are all women of faith. It doesn't have to be Christian faith, it could be any faith. But whatever you believe in, hold on to that dearly. For me, those that know me, me, I'm a prayer warrior. Nobody can collect it from me. Even at workplace, they know me. Sorry, that's all I can hold on to. And of course, I do my work. The work I'm talking about is, you have to have knowledge and you have to follow knowledge. Why am I saying this? The same child they said to us that could not speak, the same child that we have spent thousands on regarding speech and language therapy, the same child that they have told us is not possible, this is not possible, this is not possible. This same child stood up at the chaplain. I don't know if for people that are here, 45 minutes straight talk. The sibling, the sister had to do the video and said, I was just shedding tears, and spoke on social advocacy 45 straight minutes.
Wow.
The same child that they said is everything they told us was not possible based on man's word has now become the very possible. I will give one more example. I remember during the secondary school in UK, one thing, and that's why I said to you, know your child's strength. We know that this child was very good at coding. We knew that was very good with computer. We knew that we were very new to this, so we didn't know much, but we knew that it was good there. But giving him all this very long comprehension was too much. Abstract thinking was a problem. But when you have him to do digitals and all that, we're good to go. Guess what? When it was time to choose the courses that they would do in secondary school, because you get to a particular year, I can't remember, is it year 9 or the year 10 or something, you have to pick the core courses that you will do, that you do for your finals, for your GCSE. So of course, in my mind, there is no way computer science will not be there. How can computer science not be there? Do you know that they did not give my child computer science? And and then they sent a message to us that the teacher decided that they call it golden ticket. I will never forget. And the teacher gave the golden tickets to the students that he thought were very good at computer science, or that would be good at computer science. And then I saw that when he got back home, his form, they put all the other history, blah, blah, no computer science. And I was like, Pitibao. The next day I went to the school, I was like, I'm sorry, I need to understand the criteria that was used for this. And they started blabbing. I said, I'm sorry, you're not getting it. This is this boy's strength. Exactly. And so we need him to, and they were like, oh no, they don't think so. He's not very calm in class enough to be able to do computer science. I was like, are you looking, is it calmness we're talking about or what he has here? And so they had to give him a 30-minute test that day, evaluation that they did not give the other children. And I remember sending a message to my husband that all these my gra, they will catch me today. If this boy goes to fumble, that's all. Do you know that by the time they marked it, because they did it there, I didn't leave the school, I was there. They marked the test and he got everything. Now I'm going somewhere. And that was how he got into the computer science class. Now, out of all the subjects he was doing at school, was only that computer science that he never moved from 90 or 98. 90, 98, 90, 98. And that's where he was excelling. Now, I'm going somewhere. If I had not fought and I just left it that, let's do the other ones, we will not be doing computer science. Now, this is the same thing this boy is going into the university to go study. And now this is the same thing that I got nominated for $120,000 scholarship. I think I was telling Abiola. This is the same boy that they told me to take to a special needs school. This is the same boy that they wrote off. This is the same boy that we got rejected multiple times. I am just saying this to encourage another mother there. Our journey is just starting because we have so many other areas that we need to still, we're fine-tuning, as we're getting older, we're talking the understanding relationship, there's so many things. But I am saying to you, your tears will not be in vain. The rejections, the doors that were closed will not be in vain. Your prayers will not be in vain. Every hard work that you have put into it will not be in vain. Your story might not be like my story. Your child might not be like my child. Remember, we said it's a big spectrum. But one thing I know is that do not stop putting all the effort you need to put in to help that child. See that child as your golden child. I'm telling you, I say it to people, I am the greatest cheerleader of this Peking. There is no place where he wants to talk about it. Even if the Lord says tomorrow it is time to go, I have done my work on this planet Earth concerning that child. And that's what I want you to also be able to do. And I want you to do because it is very key. That child is looking at you for solution. And the only way a mother can have that solution is to be equipped and be knowledgeable enough to be able to stand up when the day of solution comes. And I pray that we will not miss it. I think I should keep quiet because I can talk for Africa, like I told you. So better let me just keep quiet so that we can answer questions.
Trust me, Dr. Omosade, we are soaking it in. I am soaking it in. I don't know about everybody else, but I was soaking it in. I was taking down my notes and I was like, Abiola, you thought you've started. You've not started work. You would wear your shokoto and your tontiri and go out and advocate for Demi. But it's been an amazing time. It's been really, really a blessing having you here, Dr. Shad. Dr. Shade, I have learned a lot and I'm still learning. And I've been but spank on the place where I've been slacking. I know we schedule, I'm like, Abiola, you cannot come and kill yourself. But I'm like, okay, on this one, we need to sit up and I know we can do better. But I've just been slacking and I'm like, okay, girl, you need to do this and you can, it's something I know I can do. So I would do a lot of things. I just want to thank you so much. I don't know if you guys have questions. My mouse is still downstairs and I don't know, I'm going to scroll back up and start picking those questions.
So I think I can see them. So
okay,
you are okay for me to see.
Yes,
I think
please,
there are quite a number. Just give me a minute.
And, for sure.
Okay, give me a minute.
Please send in your questions. Send in your questions.
Send in your questions now, so we just tackle it together.
This is Omolola. I sent in a question, but I feel like my question would need a bit of background. So I was thinking, how do I help my 6-year-old who is not even at a stage where to learn yet? I know he's just 6, but the thing is, he's not even at a place to learn 1, 2, 3 ABC. And like you said about medication, thank God, after the ASD, he was also diagnosed with ADHD and started medication in July. And that has been July last year, and that has actually been a game changer because he has actually started to even settle down, because before it was as if he was not even at ease in his own body. He couldn't stay, he couldn't focus. But we're not at a place, as in school, they don't do anything learning. The place where maybe he learns kind of is at ABA. And then he doesn't speak, he's non-verbal, and he's only learning to even understand words now, because when you're using the same words for things, so he's not even at a stage to learn. And so I'm like, how do we even get
Well,
there? Because I'm
your
thinking of
2 minutes is
future.
2 minutes is almost up. Let's Dr.
Sorry.
Don't
Your
worry,
2
Lola, I
minutes
get
is
you.
up.
I
Yeah.
get you. So let me explain that. First of all, well done. Thank you for being one of those parents that embrace the medication. And I like what you said. That medication is helping him to settle. So there's a lot of chemical imbalance happening within these children, within their system, sometimes, not all of them, but sometimes. And what the medication sometimes is doing is helping them to settle, and then helping them to be able to concentrate at least, or able to be attentive enough to be able to take something in. There is no way as an adult, even when you're all panicky, anxious, all over the place. I mean, I've had a whole day that I did not do anything for that day, because my mind was just all over the place. I was just, I don't know, my whole system was just all over the place. I did not get single thing done for that day. So imagine a child and the mind is just all over. That's what that medication is doing to help settle that child. So what you want to do now is, you are now at that stage where you feel, the child. There's no way I would know. So if you think that child is now at that point where he's settled enough to be able to take in some form of learning, listen to the words I'm using, because sometimes we're thinking at 6 years old, my child should already be doing times table, should be doing division and multiplication at, two. Don't, there's time for everything. So if at this stage now, you now think this child is settled enough to start that learning process, then you start. A lot of times we're waiting for school to do a lot of this learning for us. A lot of the learning has to be done from home by us. You see, maybe I didn't complete the thing. You are the fighter, you are the driver, you are the teacher, you are the nurse, you are the doctor, in fact, you are the mattress, you are the teacher, you're everything from home. The only thing you have done by taking that child to the school setting is you've taken that child into a structured place to socialize with other people. And the minute I understood that that's what I'm trying to get this child to do, to socialize with other people, then I realized that I have to tighten my own trouser very well. So at home, you have to look for, and that's why you see some people will say they homeschool. I don't think a child on the spectrum should be homeschooled after a particular stage, because remember what the issues are: social interaction, social communication, issues with repetitive behavior and all that. So they need to see what the normal is to be able to know what to mimic. They model us, they model what they see. And that's why you have to be at all times putting that child in the right place, because if they see the bad, they will model the bad. If they see the good, they will model the good. So at home, I think what I remember that we did was, we started with Kumon a little at a time. Then I bought some other books from Amazon, those writing books. And then we now did the 1 to 1 plus 1, those books. They are different books. So you decide the one that works for you, and then start from home, to the extent that by the time the child is now even ready, gets to school, and the teacher is thinking, no, he's not in the category of 1 plus 1 people, they'll be shocked that the child is already doing 2 plus 2, because you have done your homework from home. Whatever they are giving at school, let them give. Do you understand? Let them do their own from school, or you do your own at home. It's a lot of work. I say to people that as caregivers of children on the spectrum, you have in fact, you have 40 jobs in one day. You're doing everything in one day. You understand? You're at attention at all times. And that's why you have to think about you as well if you're going on this journey. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yes, it does. Thank you. I'll speak for Molola. I want to answer the other questions also.
Okay, someone asked the question. I think I stumbled on that. Someone said, can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, because I had to just enlarge the thing so I could follow it. Sorry. Yes, you are the fighter, the driver, the teacher, the nurse, the advocate. In fact, you are the mattress. For those that struggle with sleep, sometimes you have to just. At a point we were having to do body to body. What's that thing called? Body to body contact where you have to just, your chest, you put the child on your chest so that the child can calm down. You know, the sensory thing.
Kangaroo.
Okay, so okay, someone said
I
schedule.
asked
My
a
greatest,
question.
yes. Yeah, I'm coming to diet. I forgot to go to that. I'll come to that in a minute. And then someone asked about your schedule, my greatest struggle, and then what kind of things to advocate for in school. I mean, please. Okay, for the person that asked about what to advocate for in school,
Yes.
what part of the world are you? Because I
I'm in
think this one,
Canada.
okay, good. How old is the child?
6.
Okay, we're fine. So you start from, first of all, ask them. This is the way to start. I tell them you want to have a meeting with the teacher, and then the teacher will tell you they don't know. The child just tell them you want to have a meeting with the teacher and ask them that who takes care of children with special needs in the school. In UK, they call them the Senko. In Canada, there's a name they've given me because there's another. Sorry?
Special education resource teacher.
Thank you. Start with the teacher. You see, this thing is how do I put it now? You have to be, schematic about it. Let the teacher, first of all, write. They know how to type, all these school people. Let them type. Let them give you everything that they are doing to support him in class. That's one. Then now ask for another meeting with what did he call the name again?
Third.
Yes. With that set of whatever they call them, the special education needs person and the teacher together. So you're now 3. In fact, they will include one more person. Trust me. That one is the one that is taking notes because by that time they know that you are ready. So ask them that what is available within the school setting and within the school's board to support a child in, on the spectrum. And and the reason why I'm saying that, when we moved here, because we were coming with the knowledge from UK. When we moved here, fine, my child was in high school already, and I thought it was just a walkthrough. But we were initially, we moved during pandemic, so we struggled initially for so long until I had to the same fighting spirit is the same spirit you're bringing here, nonstop. And so I had to go into school to go and ask them. So it was one, they now gave me someone, I think she's meant to be like the guidance counselor or something within the school, because they said they had not experienced it before. We've never had a case like that, so we really don't know what to do. I didn't stop. I went online to check what does Canada say about such children, and I forwarded it straight to them. And I said to them, this is what I understand every school is meant to be doing to support children in that spectrum. And the minute we found out, they are even meant to give him homework teacher, as in after school, they should, give him some time after school to spend time with him, to explain the stuff to him, to do homework with him, one-to-one, even in high school. I never even.
Please, which website did you find this thing? I beg, I need to go.
I think what I'll do is I'll send some stuff to Abiola, and then she can. They are
on taking notes because I didn't know it's available.
Yes, and then you have to look at that and then use their words, use the government's words for them. So immediately after, I also saw another one that told me that they are meant to do, what's that thing? Another assessment for him. And they sent us to go do that assessment, because that assessment is what we now can use to move on to uni, where they will still keep giving him support. So the minute they knew that I knew a little bit about what I was saying, the next thing they started bringing out some things for me to sign. And that was the one that was going to give him even extra time to do his test, his work in class, give him a separate. In fact, they told me they could give him laptop. They could give him somebody to do scribing for him. I said, scribing.
What?
Yes. So you can actually be in class with a scriber beside you, scribing away for you. But because we knew that would be counterproductive for him, we were like, at least we know that's available. But we don't want that. In fact, to the point that there's also that, you can advocate for, video, to do the video of the whole class so that you can go back home, for children on the spectrum.
Visual.
Thank you. You're getting it. So we got to the point that even there was a particular one, was it chemistry, that we had to ask that before they start at all, she should give us the whole syllabus. Everything she's going to teach, give it to us. He can study it before he even comes to class. It is possible. I did not know. I didn't even know this was coming. I did not know.
I've asked for it before. The teacher had the audacity to refer me to the Canadian website for curriculum, because I asked her that, give me what you are teaching so that I can be doing the same thing at home.
You have a right to ask. Read it very well. Underline. Look at all the
Fumi,
small
we will
print.
attack another way. We'll use another way, attack
Aha,
method.
aha,
Let's answer other
aha. You
questions.
will do plenty writing of letters and all that, but don't worry. I've told you, you are the fighter. If you are the grammar book, you are the everything book, you are everything. You have a place you are going. The focus is to make sure this child is at his or her optimal level in whatever he or she is doing. Okay. Any other question? Thank you for that. Okay, let's talk about food. Okay. For us, it was we've never tasted egg in our life. So I can imagine when you have a baby and you're looking forward to the, the different, I'm the first of my family. So for us, that was the new grandchild, everything. My mom had sent all those instructions of more, a day more, all those instructions, like you break the egg, you mix it with noodles, you mix it with this and all that. But one thing I noticed, even as a baby, we didn't even know we were going to start this journey. The minute you put it in his mouth, there was a way you just separate them. You swallow the others, and then you just see him spitting it out. And then whatever he spits out is egg. Boiled dough, fried dough, scrambled dough, anything, he wouldn't take it. We were not, but if you give him things like amala, if you give him, sorry, I'm being honest though, because it became a problem even at school. Give him things like amala or pounded yam, or everything goes. You will finish it. Even bokoto, you will take that, but you will not take meat and you will not take chicken. So it was later when we now started to discover what was happening that we now, of course, we're reading and being more aware. We now realize that the soft stuff was easier to swallow for them. There's something about the vocal cords, the muscles around here and all that with speech. It was easier for them to do just swallow, but that wasn't going to help. You need a child to be able to masticate, like chew, because that's also helping to develop the muscles of the mouth. So we had to now start doing even rice. You wouldn't chew rice, swallow. Everything is just swallow it. But you have to get to a point where you have to start helping them mash things. Those things still have bits, but they are still a little bit soft rather than hard, so that they can start to learn to chew it. I remember there was something they gave me then from the hospital that you put in the child's mouth. It looks like like a rubber. He's not going to swallow it, but it's going to help him develop. So for the ones that still have younger kids, they can get it. I will remember the name. It looks like a jelly. Yeah, maybe it's the chewy. Yes, it's been a while. Sorry,
No, it's
So
okay.
so the child puts it in the mouth and is just thinking it's food and keeps chewing on it. But that's also another way to help strengthen the muscles of the mouth. For the child to get that. Texture is a problem for them in terms of food. So first of all, look at it's not about. I know people go gluten free, gluten this. I mean, some people that works for them, but I think first of all, discover what does the child like, what does the child not like. Of course, you want this child to have healthy and balanced diet as well. For me, I got to a point I realized it wouldn't take anything fruit, so we had to turn it to mashing. So that was the time the smoothie kind of thing came. So we have to mix different things, carrots with whatever. We were mixing different things, and then I'll now spoon feed. Just to make sure he gets the nutrient into him. But as he was getting older, then you now modify to suit. As I'm talking to you, he has never tasted sugar. You might not believe. He cannot. He was fine with his breakfast without sugar, even from babyhood, and he was fine with that. We don't do wahala of egg. We don't even go there. But as he got older and he started seeing that our parties, now this is, if I tell you that the first time he had chicken was when he was, is it 13 or 14? And that was a big celebration in this house, like, wow, So yeah, I would say to parents, there's no point fighting the fight that you don't need to fight. Look for what he or she thrives with and is good, modify to suit the child. I don't think there needs to really be a special diet after they have passed the babyhood. The special diet, that what we're calling special diet, is more modified diet. I mean, some books will tell you that reduce milk. Some book will tell you buy this particular kind of milk. Already remember that there are some kids that have lactose intolerance. That's different. So if they do have that, then you want to take them off milk. But other than that, for me, I will say to you, we've never had to taste sugar, not because I didn't want to add sugar. He just doesn't like the one with sugar. So maybe, I mean, there's some books that will say restrict sugar. So So maybe that was a good one. I don't know. I've never had to think of that research, but maybe not having sugar-based whatever helped. I don't know. But I don't think there's any other diet that we restricted. The amala and all of that we were given. And when he had to start school, that was a problem because he wasn't going to take any of the varieties at the canteen. So those ones had to call us, what is he chopping? Say it's amala. It's a bokoto. You know. So they were looking at us like, what is this woman talking about? So we now had to sit down together to now try and see what we could do. So they now went on to do things like mashed potato, so it's doable. And gravy, it won't take meat, so they won't put meat, so gravy and some, broccoli or stuff like that, just to modify things. But I always say, do what works for you. Remember, like I said to you, children are different. But I don't think there's a need for any special diet per se. But if special diet has been working for you, stick to it. You understand? So whatever you call special diet, I'm using the word modifiable diet. So modify to suit the child. I'll say that. Any other thing? Any other question? It doesn't eat daycare food. Don't worry, we are plenty like that.
My question is it
Please, can
advisable
you raise
to
your hand, please, next time for anybody that has some
sorry
repeaters, so don't have
yeah, is it
question.
advisable to let the child repeat the same class, being that it's not really at par with his age level?
How old is the child?
He's 6 now, he's in grade 1.
Okay. So are you on this side of the world?
Yes.
Okay. So we have to start to, I say something, as we're getting to this side of the world, we have to start having some mindset modification. You see, on this side of the world, there's nothing like a repeat class. There's nothing like the child is not doing well, so the child has to repeat. No. So I want to remember the word. It's not
Modification?
modification, but there's something they call it. So even though, I'll give an example. My child was in year 3 and they felt he was performing at the level of year 1. They will not tell you to take the child to the year 1 level. What they would do is in that year 3, the people perform, even in year 3 for the children that are not on the spectrum. There's a way they divide. So if you understand the education system, they are very smart. They already know the children that are the A-star students. They know what they are doing. And they have a way of the curriculum, and they you hear them, they will say year 3A, year 3B. They know what they are doing. Year 3C, they know what they are doing. So in that same year 3, the child will be there, but they will help the child to, if the processing is the year 1 processing, their role is meant to be to support that child from that year 1 processing and gradually help build that child up. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. So in their first term, if every other person is doing 2 times table, I'm just giving an example, and the child can only do 1 times table, then that's why they have like maybe a TA, teaching assistant, or someone that will be apportioned to the child to help prepare the child to understand the 1 times table. They might do that for 6 weeks and see that they have gotten to a point where that child can now go to the 2 times table. But even if they tell you the child is not, they would not ever suggest that you take that child away and go and put in year 1. Now, listen, if you decide to do that, you have to remember that it's not all about academic for a child. There is the psychological effect for a child. There's the mental effect for a child. You remember I was saying to you that mine is a bit on the big side. So imagine a 7-year-old. Let me put it, a 7-year-old in the same class with a 5 or a 4-year-old. He's going to even feel bullied. He's not going to feel included. And at the end of the day, sometimes we think we're trying to get something, but we end up with making more damage, if I can put it that way. So I think what we should focus on is, for this particular class that he's in, what can be done to support him? I think that's the way we should look at it. Everything might not be academic. Let me make you laugh. And I still remember saying to my, it is draining. And that's why, let me make you laugh. At a particular point, I went away from a Thursday till Monday. I did not look back. In fact, I did not even feel like coming back home because I had gotten that low. But I needed to go and recharge. I'm serious. In fact, I remember going on that cruise I was based in Birmingham, London. Some London church was organized. It was only one person I knew, and she went to school with myself and Buki, and she just sent it, and I saw it. I went on that cruise with them. I paid to go on the cruise with them because I wanted to sleep. My roommate, she was worried. The person they put, she started to tell her, I didn't go out for any function. I didn't go for all their parties. I didn't go for any meeting they were having. I wanted to sleep because I was that low. And she was worried, and she was like, how can someone pay this amount of money? And all she came to do is just sleeping. She's just staying indoors. The only time I stand up is when they want to go and eat. I go and eat, and I come back and I sleep. I was that low. You understand? So I agree, fighting all the time is tough. Our prayer is that we will get to that point where we're already on that pedestal. We don't have to fight again. And when I say fight, I hope you understand what I mean. What I'm saying is it's not every time you will need to advocate for the child, because if the right things have been done, there's really no need to fight. So what you're fighting for is to make sure that the right things are done. Now, some people are lucky. They have good schools where they are, they embrace our children and they do the right things. Why bother to fight? But one thing I've realized is, especially with our color, I am sorry I have to say this, but it's the honest truth. Even without the child having needs, they already neglect us. So now imagine when the child have needs again. I'm sorry, I'm a fighter. I've been born to fight my fight. So I hope that helps with it for the child, for the class. I don't think it would be advisable to take the child to a lower class. Do whatever you need to be doing from the home front, and then advocate for whatever needs to be done, in class to support the child. Have it written out. You see, when they start saying that you want it in black and white, they sit up. You want it in black and white, they sit up. Yes, racism is real. We just manage around, and we don't want to keep flaunting it, but it's the honest truth. So you cannot imagine that even when a child has a need. Yeah. Any other question?
Yes, there's a question they've been asking. Any advice for those in Nigeria?
Okay, so Nigeria, there are different things. Last year has been easy though, but getting for another one, it will be easy in Jesus' name. Nena, don't worry, it'll be easy. Nigeria, there are few organizations that are popping up now, but that's the reason why I'll first of all ask, where in Nigeria? So I think, like, our country now, I think more resources are in places like Lagos, Abuja, to be honest. And then maybe some centers that are affiliated to like teaching hospitals or a university, setting. I know about Lagos that there are quite a number of different organizations, that are coming up to support. We're having speech and language therapists now. I have one that I had to refer someone to at a point, and what I usually ask is, where were you trained? Because everybody is somebody and something and somewhere, people will just go for one online course and they tell you that they are speech and language therapists. It's not just going to someone that says I'm a speech and language therapist and doesn't know the know-how, because this thing is technique. And what I usually do is, if I am there, I am watching what they are doing, because I want to go back home to replicate. That's another thing I wanted to say. Watch whatever they are doing with your child, because you want to go back home to replicate. Even if it's occupational therapists, I think there are a few occupational therapists in Lagos as well. I know there's some in Luth. I know I think there's one that does private in Ikeja, if I'm right. So I think, Abiola, maybe those are the resources you can help pull together. There are quite a number of them that are also online. But what I always say is check. You want to do your diligence, your due diligence concerning these things. Check that they are certified to do what they say they are doing, and not just abele, exactly. Someone has mentioned one, the Patrick Speech Center and stuff like that. So yeah, it's possible. I know in Abuja there is, I know in Lagos there is, I think Oshogbo has. I grew up in Ife, and I think one or two doctors are doing some things, and some psychologists as well that help. Somebody just mentioned, are you mentioning Port Harcourt, or are you asking about Port Harcourt? I am sure Port Harcourt too we have, because we have quite a number of good top psychologists and psychiatrists there. But we can check. Those are the things we can pull the resources and check. And, I think what usually works, just the same way they do on this side of the world, we can have a list of places that have, okay, Tochi, we can check for you on that, and then we can just put it together like a leaflet, so there will be numbers and websites and maybe Instagram handles and all that, where we can approach those people and ask questions. Thank you. Psychiatry Oshodi has. I know Lasut has. I know Lut has. I know Ikorodu General Hospital. I've had to refer someone before. There's a pediatrician there that I know took it up. What's her name again? I'm coming. GBK. What's her surname again? I know her. So she's I think is a Ikorodu General. And so some people now, some people are doing special interest in neurodevelopmental studies. So they are taking those up. Yeah. So things like that. Yeah. So we can do that as well. Yeah. Okay. I hope that answers this so far. So
Yes,
Lagos
it does.
people, you're covered. Abuja people, I know you're covered. It's just we need to collate all those all the numbers and names together. I know Oshogbo Ife people, you're likely covered. I'm sure Port Harcourt will be covered, but we can check those. And if you have other centers, yes. So, but if you have other places that you want to also let us check, please send it to Abiola, and I'm sure we can do all that collation. Okay. Any other question? Okay, someone has mentioned Blazing Art Center. Yeah, there are quite a lot of private, organizations that are coming up and can support. I think Jos, if I'm right, Uche, do you have something in Jos? Am I right? I'm not sure. Is Uche still here? Yeah, I can't remember, but there are different centers. So, they might be able to help. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I hope we've not missed any question. I think we've done lots of justice, but if we will not be going to breakout rooms today, I think we have discussed our breakout room here, and I'm sure this information is more valuable. I know you need to connect with other mothers, and we will do that. We'll do that maybe next month, just for connection basis, or just to pop in and ask your questions if you have any probing question like we did for last month before the next TWC. But if you have one last question.
I've seen 3 questions. I can answer them in one. Sorry.
Okay, man, go ahead.
I think they're important. Okay, let's start with the flight risk and attention span. 1 second. Attention span with the instrument. I hope I got that right. So I say to people, your child is different. If everybody is doing lesson at 30-minute stretch, tell them this, and you have to be open so don't just go and get because there are some people that will tell you they can't train such a child, and some other people will tell you they've never done it, but they will try. That's the one beautiful thing I like about Igbo people here. They've never done it, but they will try. So instead of a stretch of 30 minutes, you can break it down into 15 minutes. They'll work different things out. You can do 3 sessions of 10, 10, 10. You understand? And then gradually build it up. So it's also another learning curve for the teacher or the tutor, and rather than the 30 minutes straight. So usually I don't think most lessons don't go more than 30 minutes until they are a bit much older, and then they can do longer minutes or hours, So yes, you can ask that it's broken down into smaller chunks rather than the big stretch. Okay, someone asked about, I've done the instrument. Someone asked about educational programs for parents. You see what we have done here? This thing that we're doing here. It's just that maybe one day I'll speak to Abiola. She can do CPD points. Why are you laughing? It's true now. CPD points. If this thing that I've sat down here to do, I'll collect 25 CPD points for it. No. What else is education? What else is knowledge?
Give me the CPD.
That's the CPD point. Then what else is education? But except you are looking for some specific. So I know there are different organizations that might talk about maybe sleeping techniques. So in psychiatry we call it psychoeducation for the parent. And so there are different organizations. In UK, they have some design for parents, like psychoeducation, helping the parents to even understand what the journey is like. They have websites like what's that National Autistic website? There's a website
Autism Foundation.
Exactly. So you have all those where you can join, and then they now look at the area where you are. You can join parents there. Like I said to you, I had to join this Asian community, and it was all about parents, and they come, they share their story, they teach you. That was where I heard about that one that you be lip reading. They taught me about the small pictures. So I had to bring these pictures home with magnets at the back. That was when the picture of toilet, yes, the pegs. The picture of toilet, stick it. Okay, you put Willy in toilet, not all over the place. You teach the girl how to sit. So those little things. So those, I don't think there's any specific kind of education apart from, so if it's about toilet training, there will be some people teaching about that. If it's about the mood of the child, because we also have other comorbidities that come with things like this as they get older, there are specifics for those. If it's about the, even education in school, because like I said earlier, autism is not a learning disability or a learning disorder, but there are some times that there are learning difficulties or disorders associated with a child with autism. So those are two different things. And I remember just saying that now, talking to the lady that said earlier, that sometimes as the child gets older, the child struggles to understand some things in terms of learning. Don't let them clump it up together under autism. The child might actually need another assessment to check. This is me just educating, to check that there is nothing like dyslexia, to check that there is nothing like attention disorder, to check that there is nothing like some delay. Do you understand? So that's a different ball game. If they now do all those checks and they think that the child has got that, there are other things that they need to put in place to support such a child. It doesn't mean it's the same support as autism, although they can they can cross each other in terms of what is needed. But we have to remember, because this is the thing I had in my mind for a very long time, that autism is it is not a learning disorder. It doesn't mean that a child with autism cannot thrive education-wise. A child with autism can thrive education-wise, but a child with autism might have some slow learning attention or some form of learning disorder, but you need to check that separately, and they need to put in the support to help maximize the potential of that child. I don't know if you get what, and that's why you see that a lot of the children with autism, because they understand the way they process things and all that, they give them longer extended time to complete the same task that somebody without autism would have used a shorter time to complete. Okay. Any other thing? Can you see any other question there, Abiola?
Yeah, I've left the question because a lot have been buried. But I think it would be really nice if you guys can unmute yourself and say thank you to Dr. Omosade. I believe
thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
God bless you, Dr.
Thank you for your time. God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Be encouraged. That's
Thank
what I
you,
just
Doc.
want to leave you with. Be encouraged, be energized, have your circle. And what I say is make sure your circles are Duracell batteries, so that when you are operating on Duracell 100, the other one is operating on Duracell 250.
Thank you.
You pull each other, you push each other. We're on this journey together. You're not alone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sade. On behalf of all of us here, we want to really say a big thank you for your time. Even though it was a very short notice, even though your weekend has been back-to-back speaking engagement, thank you for getting feedback. I want to know. Sorry. Yes, your weekend has been really, somebody needs to mute themselves. Yes, weekend was really, she still had like 4 hours speaking engagement this week, several times this week. And she was like, I'm not sure if I'll be able to. And I was even preparing deck to share. But when I connected again, that just from the quick, just short introduction, my name is Abiola Dedeji, and I sent you a mail and she was talking. I was like, hey, Joma, please just squeeze us in your calendar. It's an informal meeting. And I'm so happy that she was able to take us on and come and volunteer her time and speak to us. Thank you so, so much, Ma. We really appreciate you. You guys send me your feedback. I will collect it and send it to her. So she knows that she has really impacted us. She didn't just come and spend that 2 hours or 3 hours with us without just typing something. I'm going to put them together in a document and send to her so that she can see that from all of us at home, we appreciate you so much. We love you. And we'll call on you again, because all of us, we are just
So
starting.
I've told you that you went to go and touch. You went to go and touch, you know, how do I put it now? Like I said to you, I didn't get this support those years ago. You can just imagine now, you know. So, and I always say something, your story is no longer your story. When the Lord has done it for you, it is to help others and pull others to get to where God wants them to get to. So it is no longer my story. This child has been a gift to us. And I thank God for being able to do what we've been doing so far. The journey is still just starting, because me, I don't even know how to talk about girlfriend and boyfriend now. So that is a different ball game, you know. So, and, you know, I'm still having palpitations on, are we going to let him go to boarding house in uni, or am I packing I told one of my friends, I'm packing my load and we're going to be on that university campus together. You know, so it's every stage is so different, you know, but I know that the Lord is with us on this journey if you believe, and just acquire the knowledge, get the right support, There will be shaky days, there will be shaky moments, but don't give up. You know, your faith, your strength, your
Isn't my network?
praise. I didn't have friends. Let me be. I wasn't interested. So I shielded my family for some time. I don't know if it's good or if it's bad, but that's what I did. And then when it was time to have friends, we had friends. And so many people didn't even know what was happening to us for a very long time. Was that good or bad? I don't know. If I had this community, my house would be open 24/7, but we didn't have this as at that time. So yeah, I hope I've been able to help somebody to unlearn, to relearn, and to keep moving on their journey. I hope it's been useful.
Thank you so much. Yes, it's been very, very useful. Thank you so much. I'm going to collect all the feedback. Like I said, you guys send me your feedback. I would put them together and I'll send to you. So you will receive all our love in a bundle and I'll send that to you. Thank you so much, Dr. Shade. I really, really do appreciate you. God bless you so much. Thank you.